My lords, ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome back to Hard Mode Transport Fever 2 as we continue on the series. We're starting this episode in the small town of Wareham, which is where we had our attention turned to in the previous episode as we set up the passenger line into Wareham and we started supplying the tools down here as well via a long-haul road freight service. Now, what I'd like to do today is we also need to get some fuel down here. Now we do have a fuel refinery up near Whitnash, which we're already making use of to supply a few other towns around here. If you remember, that's the one where we had the ships involved shipping down the oil sand along the river to be transported in, or well, transformed into fuel. So what we're going to do, we're going to hook up to that fuel refinery and we're going to bring the fuel down into Wareham, and then Wareham will be supplied with both of the goods that they require for full town growth. So let's put up the UI. As we can see, we're in 1966, so we're making nice progress through the years. We can see one of our delivery trucks just passing through Wareham there, and we see the station that we got set up. I have corrected the naming error here in the from the last episode. I had named it as an inner city shuttle. It's not inner city, it is intercity. So thank you to all who pointed that out. It's now been corrected. Hopefully that will be the last time I make that mistake. Okay, so back on with the plans for today. Now my first thought is we could use this station here, which is supplying the food processing plant at Wareham, and we could have the fuel dropped off into this station and then shipped into Wareham along this little access road here. Now the fuel refinery is just up here, so it would be very easy and straightforward to get a cargo line connected between these two. And then, as I said, it's just a case of getting a freight line set up into Wareham to make the final delivery for the town of Wareham. So with that in mind, let's make a start then. I think that's the most logical solution, and it makes sense, doesn't it? So that's what we're going to go for today. So let's get a cargo station here at the refinery. We'll go for 2 tracks, maximum length, but we don't need high-speed tracks out here for this. And I'm going to have it set off a little bit away from the station like that. And that way we can do a bit of scenery work at some point if we want to. But for now, what we're going to need are some country roads down here just to give us an active connection between the industry and the cargo station that we've just put down. So somewhere around here we should be able to get that connection that we're looking for. And in fact, there it is. And we'll just verify that those two are now connected. Yes, they are, as we can see, so that's fantastic. Let's just quickly rename this. So this is the Swinton Fuel Refinery. And then what we're going to do is take the line. We'll tunnel straight through this little hill ridge here, past the goods factory, and then we'll connect in somewhere on this corner here. And then we'll set up a 4th platform for this station, which is going to handle the drop-off of the fuel to be shipped into Wareham. We've unlocked the Isuzu Elf tank truck and flatbed trucks, which might be worth looking at if they're superior to the ones we're using at the moment. But for now, let's keep focused on getting this set up. So we're just going to go for the usual setup that we're all now very familiar with a nice flat stretch of track with a diamond over there. And then this should be one of the easiest bit of track laying we're going to do, because we're just basically doing a straight shot through here. And where's the line? It's over that way a little. Now, I am mindful that in some future point we might want a station here as well, so I don't want to take it too close, because then we're fighting it against ourselves. So I'm leaving us enough room there to be able to connect in later on if we need to. We may not, but let's not box ourselves in unnecessarily, of course. And at this point, I think the best solution now is going to be to bring a line off of this junction, or what will be our junction. That way we know we're going to have a nice flat crossing or not, as the case may be. How does that? I think that looks like maybe one more. Okay, a couple more. There we go. And it's got maximum speed, which is always a concern. So this should work very, very nicely. And where's the track? Okay, we've probably curved over a little too far there. So we'll just run this back, just so we can approach it at a better angle. How does that look? Not too bad, and it is a full 75 mile an hour stretch of track, so there's absolutely nothing slowing down our trains between the station and the junction. And if they have a clear shot at the junction, then they'll come full speed straight into the station as well. Speaking of the junction, we of course want to put some signals down here to protect it, so we'll do that just now. So we want one there, and we'll have one there. This one here can serve to stop trains prior to entering the junction. That one will clear the junction that way, and that one will clear it that way. So the last thing we're going to need is one clearing it this way. And now we can go back to the auto signal. And I think, yeah, we'll stick about 600 is fine. Doesn't have to be exactly 600. We're not going to have a great deal of trains coming down here. Maybe no more than 2. Looking at it, I think 2 should be more than enough. Okay, the last thing you want to do now is activate this last outside platform here. And we'll do that by just laying down some track. There we go. So that now gives us 1, 2, 3, 4 platforms, which is exactly what we're looking for. And then we just need to connect this new platform in. And just something like that will work, provided we've got a good junction overlap, which we certainly do. So they're slowing down on this corner, but that's no problem really. And I think that will work quite nicely. What we might need, if we are going to have 2 trains coming down here, is a 3rd track as a stabling track. So our fuel delivery trains that come down here, if there's one already on the platform, then they can wait off of the main line, so they're not blocking in the freight that's delivering the food or the grain. But we'll sort that out later on if needed. For now, what we can do is start on the road aspect. So let's get our truck station up and running here. Okay then, ladies and gentlemen, at this point I need to offer my apologies. As I was about to place this truck station that you now see magically appearing in front of you, I had a Windows notification that switched focus from the Transport Fever 2 game screen back to the desktop. When I cleared the notification and tabbed back into the game window to resume where we'd left off, which was the placement of this truck station, I realised afterwards that Bandicam started to record the desktop behind the game screen rather than the game screen itself. For that reason, everything from here on out till the end of the original planned episode, all you could see was the mouse cursor moving around on the desktop screen, and you couldn't see what actually was happening on the game screen. I only noticed this when I came to edit this video in post-processing. So for that reason I've come back in now, and what we're going to do is, obviously I can't rebuild it all because I'd saved the game file and I don't have autosave on while I record, so I couldn't recover it that way. So instead, rather than just have a truncated episode, what we're going to do is quickly go over everything that wasn't captured after the Windows notification. So the first thing we can see obviously is the truck station for the Wareham Freight Exchange was set up, and we have a few trucks ready to run on this line, and these are delivering the fuel into Wareham. We have 5 of the trucks as we can see, and these are the MAN 19.304 tank trucks, and they're currently waiting to be loaded with the fuel from the refinery over up here near Swinton. Now I also set up 2 trains to run this fuel haulage line from the refinery. We can see one of them sat here now at the refinery station waiting to pick up, and we see one waiting a little bit further back to get onto the platform itself. So they're set up, and if we have a quick look at these trains as well, these are running the RE44s. Their capacity is 180, and they have a mediocre power rating, but they get up to their top speed in 3 minutes. Now this stretch of track here doesn't tackle any major gradient changes, so I'm not too concerned by the mediocre power rating. They should be more than capable of getting their top speed on their way into the freight exchange for Wareham. The oil sand delivery line has not been affected or changed yet, although we might have to do that now because we have 2 outputs now linked to this refinery. We have Whitnash and we have Wareham off to the south. They're just hidden in the fog. So at some point we might want to double up on these ships, and that's also going to mean we might want to change the oil sand freight train, which we have here, which is just currently making a delivery from the refinery, or the mine at Portishead, to the terminal we've set up here, where it's going to be picked up by the ships. So once I got that all finished, I made one other major change, and you might be able to see what it is on screen right now. I put down an airport here in Wareham. Now to connect the airport into the town, I've extended the major road in Wareham. It's got electrified tram line on it, as we can see, and we have a inner city metro that is running from our central station in Wareham down to the airport. We can see one of the trams making their way down here now, and these are operating the Mirage, BE46 Mirage. As we can see, we've got a decent amount of passengers taking the tram already, and we have a good few waiting to be collected by the second tram. And then obviously these are dropping off to the airport, which, as we can see, we have 50 passengers waiting, and you might be able to deduce from this naming here, this is Wareham to Nuneaton passenger line. We just saw one aeroplane take off on its way to Nuneaton, so we'll head over there now. Here we go. Here is the airport for Nuneaton, and I've done the same thing down here as well. We have an electrified tram line, and we have a dedicated inner city metro for the airport, and once again, much like in Wareham, this one is heading to the central passenger terminus in Nuneaton before heading out to the airport station. And again, not bad pickup already on this, although not as many on the trams, and there weren't as many waiting at central as we saw, only 5 waiting there. In terms of the passenger airline, as we can see, it's already turning a profit. The first 2 years it did not make any money, which is to be expected because it takes a while for the new transportation option to register in the pathfinding algorithm amongst the AI. But now that it's kicked in, we can see we can expect to make pretty decent profits on this line. These are the only airports I've put down so far. We will likely have a few others dotted around the map, and we might have some smaller, more regional style airports in some of our smaller towns as well. Now, given Portishead's central location on the map, and the fact it's a rather small map insofar as Portishead isn't that far away from any of the towns, unfortunately I don't think it's going to make much sense for Portishead to have an airport itself. Instead, we're just going to use some of the more outlying towns, and that's why I started with Nuneaton over to Wareham as our first passenger airline. Other towns that are contenders, Rothbury could have an airport because it's an extreme outlying town, as could Marlborough, but we can develop those as and when time dictates. Other than that, the other changes I did make in the episode that weren't captured on camera is I've modified a couple of our passenger services. The primary one that I have modified is this north-south connection line, because despite it being a very popular service, it was not making any profit. We can see here we were running at a loss. After I've made the changeover, we can now see we are starting to make profits on this line, and the changes I made are in regards to the train setup. So this is the new train now, and we'll just hop over to the Buffalo Soldier as it crosses the Portishead Bridge. So we now have 5 carriages, and we have the class, is that the 42? The 47 operating this service. It's a cheaper locomotive to run. It's not as powerful or as fast as what we had set up originally, which is a double-head diesel. Can't remember what one it was now without going back through old recordings, but it's certainly operating at a much more acceptable profit level, even if it's not quite as fast as it was. The final change that was made is while I was setting up the metro service out to the airport for Nuneaton, I noticed that the bus service and the tram service that we had originally set up in Nuneaton was very much centralised around the middle of the town, which obviously when we did set this up, that was the extent of Nuneaton. There had been no growth at that point, which meant all these outlying districts and suburbs were no longer covered by public transport. So what I've done, I've set up 2 extra public transportation bus networks for Nuneaton. These 2 do not head into the central station. Instead, what they do is they share a couple of the original bus stops that we were using with our other lines, so they'll serve as a little station interchanges. So as you can see here, Inner City Bus Nuneaton 02 operates on the western side of Nuneaton, and then we have Inner City Bus Nuneaton 3, which operates on the eastern side of Nuneaton. As we saw, we've got quite a bit of popularity, especially on the western new line that we set up, so that's pleasing to see, and that's provided Nuneaton with a lot more public transportation. And this number, as we can see, has gone up and is still continuing to rise quite nicely thanks to the extra options that the residents of Nuneaton are now faced with. Other than that, there was no other changes made. I think there was a couple of vehicle unlocks that weren't featured. However, there was nothing overly interesting. No new exciting trains for us to concern ourselves with, so I'll not go over that. What we will do is, because we'll need to wrap the episode up, and this might be a little bit shorter due to the recording error, thanks to yours truly, we'll now hop aboard one of our new aircraft and we'll take a flight out to Nuneaton, and this will give us a nice overview of our map from the skies. Now obviously we're quite close to Christmas, so for the next week, obviously until Christmas is done and dusted, my productivity is going to be quite limited. Obviously the children are now off school, and we have lots of family activities planned, obviously on the lead up to Christmas as well. So for the next week, perhaps 2 weeks, there might not be as many videos. There might only be maybe 1 or 2 per week, and that will be 1 Transport Fever 2 video and 1 RimWorld video. Just on the off chance that there's not another upload between this one and Christmas, just let me take the time now to wish you all a very happy and very safe festive period. I hope you get all you wanted and you all have a wonderful and safe time. For those of you who obviously may not follow or may not celebrate Christmas, may I wish you a happy Saturday. But for now, all that remains for me to say is, as always, ladies and gentlemen, take very good care of yourselves. It's ta-ta for now.